This is Dave, and today's big hairy idea is asymmetrical risk reward. I did a lot of gambling as a kid. I used to bet on football games with a bookie named Mort as I was growing up. And then as I got into college, I learned how to count cards and play blackjack. And then later on, as I got into law school, I got interested in stocks and buying options. But each of those areas, there's a very clear correlation between how much you risk and how much you can hope to get back as a reward. And in my mind, it was always very parallel. It's like, okay, you risk this to get that. In college football, if you were able to learn a bit more about the teams than somebody else might have known, you might hit 55, even 60%, and then you were killing it. In blackjack, if you could hit 52% of the hands that you'd win, you're doing great. And these little things you do, like counting cards, would give you just this tiny little advantage that would get you from 48% to the 52%, and that's all it took. But later on, I learned about a concept called asymmetrical risk reward. And it's been something really vital to me in my business, and it's something that Hannah and I teach in our book, The Size of Your Dreams. Asymmetrical risk reward is different than what I was talking about before. When you're gambling, you go to Vegas, you're playing blackjack. Vegas is always playing with the odds. They're never going to have a game that lets you really get the odds too much in your favor. They're always going to be in the house's favor generally. And the card counting I used to do, it was like a little cheat you could do to get a bit of an advantage, but they'd always really want winning in the end because they were setting the odds in a certain way. Same thing with horse racing. If you think about it, they're going to be setting all the odds to make sure that some people will win, but for the most part, the house is going to take in a lot more than it lets out. But it doesn't have to be that way in life. In life, very often, we don't have things that are that way. In fact, we show that in this book, in The Size of Your Dreams, through a story of one of our characters named Jared. Jared he's basically, he mows lawns, he does a little bit of snow blowing, and he's trying to figure out how to take his business to the next level. He's just a high school kid to learn a little bit of extra income to hopefully save some money for college. And he gets an opportunity to go and work with this guy named Bill. He was calling people, trying to figure out how to make his business better, asking for advice. And Bill makes him an interesting offer. Bill says, I'll tell you what, I got a big job this Saturday. I could use an extra pair of hands. You come and work with me for nothing. And you can ask me as many questions as you want. And Jared's stuck about what to do. It's like, I might learn nothing from this guy, and I'm going to go work an entire day to get nothing out of it. Why would I want to do that? I don't want to give away my work for free. And Mr. Griffin, the teacher, says, well, first of all, it's not for free. Always expect to give a certain amount of value to get value. Second of all, you have to look at this concept of asymmetrical risk reward. You have to ask yourself, what is it going to cost you? And what are you possibly going to be getting out of it in the end? And what are the odds of getting that out? So you might say with a lottery ticket, well, it only cost me a few bucks, but I could get out of it hundreds of millions, therefore at very little cost, a lot out of it. But you have to look at the odds too. Well, what are the odds of you scoring that? They're very, very low. But Jared was able to say, actually this guy's run a really successful business. He can probably give me a lot of great advice. The odds of me getting something useful are really high. And even one piece of advice could help me take my business from this level to this level in a heartbeat. It could be worth thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars if I get the right advice from him. And what is the cost to me? It's really not that much. It's really just one day of my labor. Worst comes to worst, I've worked a day for free. I've got nothing out of it. Okay, I wasn't going to do much during the weekend anyway. No big deal. But if it works out and I can get that business, I can get that advice, which I think there's a really good chance that I'll get advice is worth a lot more than one day of labor, then I've scored. Once he's given that idea of the asymmetrical risk reward, it really starts changing the way he's thinking about the whole process. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. This is something I found all the time in my business. Sometimes I'll do a course, for instance, to learn a new skill. I will hire a consultant to walk me through a new process. I'll try a new experimental website with something. So we do A/B testing. We'll try different variations. I'll try a new advertisement. Each of these doesn't take that much expense. But if it works, suddenly I've taken my business potentially to a new level. I've learned a whole new technique. And ultimately, it doesn't really cost me that much. Part of what I try to think about with asymmetrical risk reward is, okay, how can I keep my costs really low? So often, for instance, when I hire a new consultant or freelancer to work with, I'll give them a very small assignment first, so I can test them out, see if I get results from it see if it really works out, see if I like working with them. And then if I do, then I'll slowly up and up and up the amount of work we get until oftentimes these people become part of my permanent team. I think about asymmetrical risk reward. One of the first examples that comes to me is Richard Branson. Richard Branson, who started all of the Virgin brands. And when he started Virgin Atlantic, his airline, he negotiated with Boeing that if his airline failed, as many airlines do, he could return the planes and get his money back. So airlines are considered to be a gigantic risk that people take. But he said, you know what, if I can go in this and put out some money, but have it guaranteed that I'm going to get back, then my downside is really not that low. And my upside can be huge because I can have potentially a whole new airline that I've created, which he did. So I want to really ask that question, is there a place in your life that you'd really like to be growing in? Is there a way you can structure that so you can figure out an asymmetrical risk reward where what it costs you to experiment in this area, to take a step in that area is not so much, but the potential gains can be great? If so, how can we always want to think about the three factors. What is it going to take from me? What are the odds of success? And what are the potential payouts of success? The less it can cost from you, the greater you can make your odds, and the greater you can make your payout, the more you're in a place of asymmetrical risk reward, and it's something that I highly encourage you to go forward with.